Aranke, who's a practicing neurologist, who's connected with Nichandeshwara Paramashiva Hindu Temple in Houston, and Dr. Sandeep Pandov, who's a hospitalist connected with Johns Hopkins, Howard County, and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji, who's a practicing anesthesiologist, who's connected with Nityananda Meditation Academy, are going to be giving a talk on neuroscientific approach to mental health, and then a discussion about some lifestyle aspects that support positive mental health and higher consciousness. Then we're going to have another experience of pranayama, like a breathing. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction. That'll be really nice. So it should be a very enriching and enlightening experience for everyone. And we're very happy to have you here. Briefly, this Science Summit is geared at how we can bring new scientific innovations to help the UN achieve its sustainable development goals. We picked goal number 1, no poverty, number 3, good health and well-being, and number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Really, if you look at the sustainable development goals, enhancing mental health will really help assist in achieving almost all of them. So we feel strongly that the work that we have and what we're bringing forth can help the UN achieve its goals and really bring a lot of positive mental health and well-being globally. So we think it's very perfectly aligned with this summit, and we're extremely grateful to the UN General Assembly for our concepts of mental health.
Thank you, Dr. Peter Bloomfield. Really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting us to participate of what we mean by mental health. This definition of mental health is taken straight from the UN to emphasize that mental health is not just short-term, but it's also long-term. And part of our presentation today is going to focus on the long-term, right? So there are 3 aspects to mental health. One is treating after the problem has happened, but 2 important parts of it are being preventative and also enhancing mental health. We'll talk about it briefly. Mental health is people the most. When we normally think of treating mental health, the traditional approach tends to be very much focused on treatment, which is after the fact and super expensive. And it tends to focus on emotional, psychological, and social aspects of mental health. Like emotional means, can we handle stress and emotions? Can we handle the source of emotions? Address the mind-body system as a whole. And Dr. Peter is going to talk about, have an entire session on how to address the mind-body system. Instead of just controlling thoughts, address beliefs. I think transforming our beliefs from life negative cognitions to life positive cognitions. This is so critical. I'll talk a little where we do not have these incompletions. It gives us more freedom, more empowerment in the present moment so that we can reach our full potential in the future. A key part of this is having powerful cognitions, which are deep insights about yourself and the world that help you unlock your true potential by breaking free from limiting patterns. Let's look at this a little bit more in the next slide. So, next slide, please. See, powerful cognitions go beyond positive thinking. They go towards transforming our science of enlightenment as a scripture. There is one part which is like talks about extraordinary potentials, like even seeing things while blindfolded using the pineal gland. This actually has been affirmed by research. Scientific research has shown that some people can achieve something like.
Please feel free to put them. We're also, time is moving quickly, so we're going to have to move fast. We have a lot to cover. So this presentation is brought to you by Nityananda Hindu University. I'm representing the research department of Nityananda Hindu University. And this is a university that is styled after the ancient Vedic, ancient Hindu universities from antiquity. Fields of psychology, philosophy, medicine, sociology. Of course, there are members in the communities around them, including Andadan, giving food, growing agriculture, healing services, schooling. And then he's literally millions and millions of followers, over 1 million letters of commendation and recognition from Pluto. And we'll be talking about it a little bit later about things like the biome and the physical structures of how the mind and body interact and the brain and body interact.
And then we're positing that it also can extend to consciousness, and that how we experience our mental health is going to be a reflection of our mind and our body and our consciousness. So some of the programs that have been brought by Swamiji are going to have tremendous effects at the cellular program called Inner Awakening, again organized by Swamiji and run directly by Swamiji. Involved activities like yoga, meditation, initiations, which we're going to talk about what that looks like at the EEG level, a sattvic diet, the science of completion, which we'll talk about. So basically, gene expression change means the DNA may be, or may not be, but even if it's the same, the way the genes are being expressed is changing remarkably to tamp down inflammation and to support anti-aging. So you should be less stressed and more young, right? That's what we'd expect at the level of the organism. So based on that research, and this one was studied, the first one was published in Advances in Aging. The follow-up study was published in a journal called the Journal of Stem Cells. And based on the first study, they said, let's look at telomerase activity and let's look at peripheral blood stem cells. Telomerase is an enzyme that works to keep the cell generical, but it was around that time, they measured mitochondrial metabolism through a test called the MTT assay, which is a surrogate for cellular viability, which is specifically a product of mitochondrial metabolism. So mitochondria are the organelles inside the cell that create power for the cell, energy for the cell. And so their metabolism was increased. This is actually not a typo. You see it's 967%. It's not a typo, it's really true. Basically 10-fold increase in mitochondrial metabolism. So you would expect that to show up in a massive surge of energy. So when you put together at the cellular level people, because it's through an online program, and then we did a paired and unpaired analysis. So here's what we found. So the total score, per US average, total score is around 18. A higher number means more depression, more anxiety, more stress. So you want a low score in this. For the participants, the score was already much lower than average initially, which may reflect that some people already had taken initiations and were involved in this mind-body approach to life. But afterwards, it dropped all the way to 6.1. Average is 18 to 6.1, a huge difference in improvement in people's feeling of mental health in connection with this program. The next, we looked at the WHO-5 Wellbeing Index. So this goes from 0 to 100, where a higher score is a higher sense of well-being. Less than 50 is going to correlate with depression. And for example, one is seen. And the last one is mindfulness. And this looks at the ability to be present. So this gives you a score from 1 to 6, where 6, the most mindful, means completely in the moment, completely present. This is a space people aspire to be in. The average for undergrad college students is given as 3.85. For Zen meditators is 4.38. For our group, they started off at 4.29 or 4.25, so almost at the level of a Zen meditator at the beginning. And again, this may reflect some people were already involved with this lifestyle, which supports a sense of mindfulness. But at the end, it went all the way up to 4.8, 4.65. So a huge jump. The paired analysis just missed statistical significance. The p-value is 0.51. The trend, I think, speaks for itself, but the unpaired analysis was statistically significant. So again, we see an increase in mindfulness, a variable called heart rate variability, which shows variability within the heart rate that reflects. He's a neurofeedback researcher who was looking at EEG. And he noticed when he got a baseline reading, he kept changing the probes and changing the settings because he said there's almost no activity on the EEG as baseline. Means when he was sitting there in a calm state, the brain was just completely quiet. Again, their whole brain of that person would go into a high gamma activity. So we're positing that this is how an EEG of initiation looks. When a being who has attained this state of consciousness, which I'm calling as a super consciousness, that's a goal of Vedic traditions, yogic traditions, Hinduism, and they transmit it to someone they're healing or a disciple, or any reason this intense metabolic activity of the brain did not cause fatigue. It caused rejuvenation. And then he said the world is not going to believe this. This is extremely unusual. It seems as if his brain was changing with hundreds and thousands of nerves in the brain was being rewired. So again, it's a really remarkable thing. One thing that I'd also say is in the ashram, they've done again when Swami, if you're like taking a quiz, doing a task, if you're at work doing a task that requires your mental activity, it's 13 to 25 hertz. So you'll notice this illustration doesn't have gamma waves. Part of that is because gamma waves, people didn't even know about them until relatively recently, because you normally cannot. In individuals who have a higher baseline, like very low levels, I'm talking that you need a QEEG to detect, they're not going to have dementia, Alzheimer's dementia. And even in animal models, they've showed if they can induce gamma waves, the plaques and tangles that you see at the cellular level of dementia start to get cleaned up. So the idea is that gamma activity can prevent and possibly even treat Alzheimer's dementia. So if we're looking at Alzheimer's prevention, which is a huge global issue, gamma waves, I think, are definitely. That itself is remarkable, and it speaks to the power of the programs and how the mental health of whole communities can be uplifted that way. What is even more exciting to me, and I've been personally had the opportunity to do EEGs. Some of his very high-level disciples are developing this capacity, which means this level, which we're positing as a space of super consciousness, very high level of consciousness that correlates with concepts of enlightenment that have been talked about throughout history. This level, this capacity can, so I see this as progression in their capacity to reflect this state of consciousness in their spiritual growth. And so they would do this by connecting with Swamiji, connecting to a state of oneness, doing things like blindfold reading and materializing their yogic shaktis that are beyond the scope of this presentation. But while doing these things, they'll describe a very low TPS, which again, thought yogic science, basically you'll develop good mental health on the road to enlightenment, is how the yogic science works. Lifestyle, sattvic diet, and fasting. Later, another presentation is going to talk about these things. Detoxing with herbs. Puja is a ritualistic connection to higher consciousness. Yoga pada, yoga and pranayamas and meditations and kriyas, we'll be doing all of these experiential in this presentation. And then knowing, pursuit of powerful cognitions means knowing yourself as a very powerful, connected being.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. What I wanted to say here is that Dr. Bloomfield talked so much about the state of space where you have fewer and fewer thoughts. That's fewer thoughts per second. And he showed quite a few brain scans which actually denote that kind of a state, right? So there is a meditation. We just wanted to.
It should be audible now.
Just unclutch. And I tell you, it will develop such powerful will persistence in you. Such powerful will persist. Extremely powerful will persist. You will sit with yourself in a very matured way, highly matured way. Sit with yourself with highest maturity. Creating, maintaining, destroying, fighting, engaging, all that process.
And so forth. So it's an association of thoughts that creates problem. So if you unclutch from each thought as they appear, then you don't associate them, and then they just become random series of thoughts which don't affect you. That's the whole idea. So initially you can use the word unclutch, and but after a little while you can just unclutch with.
Are you able to hear it now?
No.
How about now?
unclutch from those also. So there is as you hear things, those are also thoughts. They're triggering thoughts inside of you. So next time, just keep unclutching deeper and deeper, and you'll see this deep sense of silence coming in. So it's a great technique. You can try it anytime.
So next slide. So the brain plays a very important role in regulating mood and cognition, not only through activity of certain brain structures, but the gut, in a sense, is the second brain. It has a very extensive nervous system called the enteric nervous system, and there's a communication between the brain and the digestive system, which is two-way, which is really measure of diet is very crucial in mental health. So eating a Western diet has been associated with poor mental health, and while just by switching over to whole food plant-based diet, you can make big improvements in mental health. So again, we're highlighting how just lifestyle measures which cost very little to nothing, such as yoga, meditation, and diet, can make a huge impact. And it could reduce the costs associated with current treatment model based on medication, the cingulate cortex. And even our ability to empathize with others are affected due to loss of brain cells in the cingulate cortex. Also, depression negatively impacts the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain involved in pathways for reward, motivation, and feeling pleasure. And so we can go on to the next slide. So not only on to the next slide. So what has been really, in a way, groundbreaking is that initially we thought that brain cells, we have a limited number of brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone, they're gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating new to others, interact with others. All of these areas are very important for that, and these are enhanced with increased amount of brain cells in yoga practitioners. Very interestingly, there's an area of the brain called amygdala, and this is involved in processing. And basically, functional MRI studies have shown that there's increased activation in practitioners of meditation in regions of the brain involved in attention and controlling the autonomic nervous system, such as the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, parietal cortex, hippocampus, temporal lobe, anterior cingulate striatum. These are also involved in emotional processing, some of these areas. Very interestingly, the prefrontal cortex is more active in practitioners of meditation. And one thing that happens when the prefrontal cortex is activated is an important brain chemical called glutamate is released. And this then sends a signal to another part of the brain called the hypothalamus. And they tend to have less of the natural loss of brain cells that happen to us as we age. So it's also protective of the loss of brain cells or neurons. So very important for as we age, it can have a very promising effects and protective effects. Also, other studies have been done looking at the brain chemicals, which are important in regulating our emotion and mood. At baseline, meditators have a higher level of serotonin, which you may have heard about. Serotonin is the brain chemical which is important for helping us to have a sense of well-being. And this level is reduced in people who are depressed. But meditators at baseline have a higher level of serotonin. And it, in fact, further increases after a meditation session, which is very interesting. They also tend to have a lower level of norepinephrine. This is a brain chemical associated with anxiety. And they've been shown to have increased amounts of dopamine as well through a 12-week program of yoga. And they measured their amount of anxiety and depression before and after, and looked at a brain chemical called GABA, which is very important for regulating our mood and reducing anxiety.
Hi, this is Dr. Pandav. I practice in the US near Baltimore. And thank you, Dr. Shachi, for the input. Basically, the gut-brain axis is a very important axis. You know, these days, there's a buzzword, healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. So basically, the brain is connected to the gut, reducing the anxiety and depression. So this is one impact. And the second impact it does is that it improves the, bowel movements. So basically what it does is, since it is high in fiber, so people get relief from constipation. And so there is less of inflammation in the gut lining. So it reduces, all the inflammatory bars.
And then a discussion, so you can go very quickly.
Oh. Are we waiting for the video?
We're waiting for you to quickly go over this slide.
Okay, yeah, so inflammation is higher in some people with depression. Whole food plant-based diet reduces inflammation, antioxidants, phytochemical, and promotes a balanced neurotransmitter system. Elimination of animal foods reduce inflammation, carcinogens, as I was telling you. People who ate raw fruits and vegetables versus cooked or canned fruits and vegetables had.
They are not going to say, let the whole world be blissful and die. No. They leave so much of suffering and die that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small reason. Your husband late from the office for 5 minutes is enough to make him as a late husband.
Summary, we've seen that the brain physiology, through functioning, structure, chemistry, and gut health are crucial for mental health. And lifestyle changes are critical and sustainable. And objective scientific information now is available showing that yoga and meditation actually expands parts of the brain which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also improves that brain-gut chemistry to improve the impact in our mental well-being. And so maybe if we'd like to go ahead and start, maybe Dr. Pandav can talk about what is Nirahara Samyama and how his experience that he's had with that.
Sure. I always practice whole food plant-based diet, but through Swamiji, I came to know about Nirahara Samyama, which is really a step above that. So essentially, you feel much lighter, your energy level goes through the roof, and the last, your meditation deepens like amazingly to a deep, deep level, in the sense that you're not doing meditation, it is kind of happening to you. So it's a different state to be in.
Definitely there. And it turned out it really wasn't as difficult as one thought, after the first day or two, it actually was not difficult to sustain. And definitely the mind was quieter. People around me noticed. I mean, even your skin will start to glow. You'll even appear younger. People would comment on that, wonder what I was doing. And so I definitely also experienced those similar kinds of benefits,
When I was doing it, I felt like saying, darn it, I should have done it earlier. Yes, very much. So I wished I had, I really didn't know about any of this before Swamiji. So,
Dr.
After that, it's completely gone. I don't take any antihistamines. I'm completely, and after that I did 2 times of Rahara. Even with the first time, it disappeared. I thought this is, it's being a doctor and being an anesthesiologist using all the time antihistamines on patients. And it was so good, and I used to tell everybody, about the Rahara Samyama.
Because we are running out of time, I'm going to go through this very briefly. But what Dr. Aranke and others like Dr. Pandav, all of them discussed, is that it's a simple change in lifestyle can lead to an amazing improvement in mental health, in physical and mental health. And part of changing lifestyle is not only practicing yoga, and unfortunately, we're not going to be practicing any, so that your tongue is sticking out like this. And then deeply inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose, right? Like this. How many of you feel that deep cooling happening? And once you've taken a deep breath, close the left nostril and then breathe out through the right nostril. And after you breathe out through your right nostril completely, typically you take like almost twice as long to breathe out than breathe in. So count breathing in. If you count breathing in 5 times, breathe out till the count. If breathing out makes you feel stressed because I'm asking you to breathe out twice as long, you don't have to do it. Just breathe out like till the count of 6 or 7. That's also okay. Whatever makes you feel relaxed. Typically, breathing in, the alternate nostril breathing actually makes you feel quite relaxed. Okay? Let's move on to the last technique. The last technique is called Brahmari pranayama. It's an amazing technique. Soon you will see that the hum is one continuous hum. You hardly notice the difference between one hum and the next. And you will start feeling in the center of your forehead, you will start feeling a constant buzz. And that buzz will start clearing out all the thoughts in your mind. Right? It's a very beautiful technique that just flushes negative thoughts and anxiety from your head and just fills it with the hum that is pure thoughts, nothing else, right? Let's try doing this for a few times. Okay, relax. Done together, they actually have very powerful medicinal, sorry, I won't say medicinal, it's a very powerful effect in cooling the body, right? So we're going to talk about kriyas at the end of this whole session. Wait till then to hear a little bit more, but you can search online for Nityananda kriyas and you will find them, okay? With this, let's move on to the next section. Who suffer more often from mental health issues that, like we shared before, are the ones who are unable to access such resources. At least one thing that everyone needs, like people need a spiritual solution for mental health. And if you think about it, an everyday companion, which is easily available at their fingertips to handle emotions on a daily basis, but maybe even answer bigger personalized without storing personal information. And if you have availability, like access to a phone, a smartphone, you probably can get access to these services. It can be as easy as accessing mail or WhatsApp, for example. And the beautiful thing is conversational AI can actually help address a wide variety of mental health needs. I want it available on the screen. And it's a great, you have to sign in for you to get access, but it's an amazing resource that is available to everyone. This uses the entire spiritual resources of the world, especially the teachings of Swamiji. Swamiji is essentially teaching the fundamentals of enlightenment science. You is under your control. Being integrated is all about being integrated to your thoughts and actions. Enriching is about making sure others are in this state of enlightenment along with you. And completion is what I define in a self-reflective way. How to introspect into the source of where this challenge comes from. Why do you feel unimportant? Why do you think your sister should do what you want to do, right? And encourages open communication, understanding that you may not be able to spend too much time, but think about it as quality time. And also cultivating this idea of self-worth, which can lead to a challenge. So play again, press play again, please.
Good evening, friends. I'm Dr. Prima Kothanaraman, OBGYN urogynecologist and a pelvic surgeon from Los Angeles. We have been enjoying last more than an hour of learning so much about mental health wellness and holistic approaches. It's my turn to talk about women's 22. The incident of mental illness among women is increasing. It's pretty alarming. Mental health issues can affect anyone, but causes to women are very unique. Hormonal changes, self-denial and self-hatred, discrimination and gender inequality, experience of sexism, workplace discrimination, and the gender pay gap can lead to chronic stress. Relationship dynamics, women often become on emotional labor. So the causes are differently. It's only the symptom relief. The $1 trillion brain drain that's not sufficiently addressing the mental disorders. And the other treatments like brain stimulation can be used in special situations, proven results by empowering women. So when we go into the depth of the empowering methods before, so let's read this very powerful verses from Manuvati Dharma Shastra. Ecosystem or family or a team or a community together. So women have their own intuitive intelligence in the field of keeping something very stable, keeping it together and making it functional. So Hinduism creates an ecosystem for our women here. So the political empowerment, Paramashiva declares in Atharva Veda, women should take part in the legislative chambers, put their views on forefront. So women hold 80% of leadership positions in Kailasa. While Kailasa's policy stipulates that 33% legislative positions should be held by women, mother worship, the matrilineal society that used to exist in ancient Hindu nations. It's very important to know in Kailasa, women are worshipped and revered and have a secure sexual harassment-free ecosystem due to its zero tolerance policy against sexual harassment and exploitation. And it creates the most safest environment for women on planet Earth. At social prominence, Swamiji has worked tirelessly for gender equality. Nityananda Lakshmi, the world's first Hindu microfinance project for women. Here it gives the economic freedom. The next slide.
Only feminine.
Yeah, I think it's a video to be played. Let's hear from Swamiji, his powerful message and a description of a woman by him.
Energy can be given the world. Only feminine energy can be. It would have been completely family-based civilization. So naturally, everybody would have had their basic needs. All the basic needs would have been supplied to the whole world.
Dimension of myself that we realize, and also that I want to give a true statement here to all the viewers and listeners to hear that I'm well known for my surgery nights, and I do pray to my Parashakti and Divine Mother Energy to bless all women all over the world with excellent health and bliss, and bless me with the wisdom and energy to serve women always, and Swamiji to bless every woman all over the world. And here, the science of completion, it's one of the solution for all mental.
To this sacred secret, listen. Initially, when you put this idea into you, you will have too much of resistance, anger, guilt, fear, too many things coming out. And powerlessness. No, this is not for me. First of all, this may not be true. Second, no, this is, even if it is true, not for me. No, this may be true for the people who don't have to work for their food and paying the bills. No, maybe it is true for the people who are sitting in Kailasa and enjoying the happy, free life. All kinds of thought currents will come inside. Sit. Have a little patience and do completion. Understand? This is the initiation I am giving to all of you. sit in front of mirror, pen down all these patterns and fears and everything, intensely chant Maha, pen down all of that. Whatever patterns tells you, you need to be internally, externally dependent on something else other than Paramashiva. Pen down. Pen down. Sit in front of mirror and start completing all those patterns and incidents, root incidents, everything. Let all the incompletions.
Fact sheets from World Health Organization will quickly go over. 1 in 7, 10 to a 19-year-old experience mental disorders. And another alarming number is 13% of this is a global burden of disease in this age group. And suicide is the 4th leading cause of death and of the key component. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramasivam, had given solution of supplementing conventional education with Hindu education system, which is mind-body consciousness-based education system, which, and it can be sustainable. On the previous slide, in Hindu education system, basic tools to awaken knowledge are taught. And case studies done on students at Nityananda Gurukul, where Hindu education system is integrated with conventional educational. Here is the result of whole brain activation studies for which Bender Gestalt test was performed. This test assesses these high scores are indicative of above average results. So this is impressive numbers. On the next slide, we have numbers from Sloan IQ test, which is highly validated intelligent test, measures a variety of capabilities, including comprehension, arithmetic, and visual motor capabilities. And these results showed 50% of students with total English immersion evidence, but policies to change and integrate this education into conventional curriculum would be a good sustainable development. Okay, I hand over to next speaker.
Really, many of their goals would be achieved by adopting this lifestyle. At NHU, the Nichinanda Hindu University, we aspire to be a world's leader in the study of mental health, of enlightenment, and of superconsciousness. And we very sincerely and formally and informally invite anyone who's interested in researching this possibility, this phenomena that I think is available here in ways it's not been described otherwise. So we invite policymakers, we invite academicians, and other politicians, anyone to contact us to see how we can bring this to the world to attain and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and bring
conjunction with other approaches. And this video will introduce the kriyas and what do they mean and why they are so powerful. And after that, I'll walk you through a very simple kriya for stress relief. But let's start with this one. Please play.
The science of kriyas.
Blood flow, breathing air flow, thought flow. You have something called energy flow continuously happening in you.
Productive circuit and energy circuit. Of these circuits, the energy circuit is governed by the Kundalini energy. Though not spoken much by the medical science, but elaborate references have been given for Kundalini energy in the Vedic tradition. The Kundalini energy is the innate, immense potential energy for the flow to resume. Similarly, when there is a block in the energy circuit in the body, there is impedance to energy flow forward, and it results in disease in that particular organ. The Kundalini energy in our body is like the water in the water tank. Kriyas are powerful tools which help
To that circuit. See, putting your body in certain asana makes the circuit blockage free. The circuit becomes perfect. But only through the kumbhaka, the energy gets pumped into the circuit. This is exactly the principle. If you take, it may take 10 years for you to cure the disease. But mixed properly in certain combination, it removes the disease in 2 days, in one dosage.
The kriyas help to restore the energy imbalance, and which results in healing diseases. Kriyas help to heal.
I work on your body and mind, creating yogic body and Vedic mind. Power, stamina, flexibility, physique, energy. All the 5 put together is yogic body. I am using all the 7 ingredients to create yogic body for you.
That's one thing we learned. We're going to do that first. Then the second step is you sit in a special posture. Do we have the picture of that posture? There is a posture. I shared a picture yesterday. Do we have that in the slide?
This is the last slide, Mukta.
Lie down, and in the bliss of the hum, the humming creates intense humming in your body. It creates an elevated feeling. Just lie down with that feeling and unclutch from everything. So I've taught you unclutching like before we started. You can play the music too, Peter. Thanks. And untouched from all thoughts. When you unclutch from your thoughts, open your eyes slowly. Great. Thank you all. I really appreciate all of you for coming. Peter, I hand it over to you to wrap up.
Yes, thank you so much, Mukta, for your beautiful job, and thank you to everyone who made it this long. We really appreciate you coming. And again, just a last invitation for